Yeah, last week here on this channel, I'm Jason Wygant. Like and subscribe. I said catch the fever of Anaheim 1, and you all had your grubby, sticky little mitts out, and you caught it. The atmosphere in that building, and I'm sure you folks with your watch parties at home on TV, was absolutely electric. Kind of like was powered by a heavy-duty lithium-ion battery, like the good folks at Anti-Gravity Batteries. Look how light this thing is. It's like a baseball. I could probably play catch with it with my kids. Warning, don't try that at home. This super lightweight battery is being used by the likes of Eli Tomac and Jason Anderson in their factory Yamahas and factory Kawasaki's. This one here, you should use, it's a little bit heavier. It's the same weight as the stock battery in your bike, but it has a lot more power. So your bike will start faster and more often without the battery dying. They've even got a bigger battery that is a built-in jump starter if you just accidentally leave the key turned on in your dual sport or just don't start your bike during the winter months and you kill the battery. They also have that built-in jump starting capability with their car batteries as well. Or you can take weight out of your car if you're one of those super high performance type guys. Go to antigravitybattery.com and see the latest in lithium ion battery technology for everything: automotive, power sports, RVs, so many cool gadgets and trinkets there. But yes, we didn't need those batteries to charge up Anaheim. The fans were ready for it. It is a true bucket list experience, really, to go to Anaheim 1. And I saw one couple who was smart enough to take advantage of that. At 5 in the morning, I was on the rental car shuttle headed back to LAX. That's Los Angeles International. You could be one of those cool, calling it LAX and saying that Interstate 5 is called the 5, one of those cool West Coasters. If you check that bucket list item off and go to the race. Yes, this couple, they recognized me from the races. They were from upstate New York. And for the last 2 years, they've decided to make Anaheim 1 a must-do for them. They came in on Wednesday. They checked out the beach towns, but they weren't there for the beaches or the California weather. They were there for Anaheim. And it did not let down. Not just because this dude on the rental car bus is a Tomac fan. This race had something for everyone. All the fans of all the different riders. A lot of that was because of the track. We had rain on Tuesday. Now, I will never predict on Tuesday we're going to get a mud race on Saturday. Asterisk, I think we're going to get a mud race this Saturday in Oakland. But that's another video for another day. As far as Anaheim was concerned, it wasn't a mud race, but the track was just treacherous enough where no one could do perfect laps. Eli Tomac talked about potholes in the faces of jumps. Cooper Webb said it felt like there were curbs in the faces of the jumps. It made the track super challenging, and that led to every rider having some good and bad moments throughout the race. And it reminded me of something as the crowd was losing their minds and getting louder than I've ever heard them for Supercross in that building. And I swear it's not just recency bias and saying everything that just happened is the best ever or the funniest ever or the worst ever. To me, it legitimately was the loudest ever. And I've probably been to 50 or 60 Anaheim Supercrosses because we had that combination of that electric Anaheim energy and amazing racing back and forth. We've had a lot of surprise winners at Anaheim. 2013 race was great. Came down to the last lap between Millsaps and Kennard. There's a legendary 1986 battle with Rick Johnson and David Bailey. We've had some good Anaheim battles. We've had some surprising winners, but we've had very few with this many lead changes and this much dynamic throughout the race. And the fans loved it. But there's two other factors that led to that crowd being this loud, and these are awesome signs for the sport. The big one, the longevity of the athletes. Statman for the series, Clinton Fowler, has identified the average age on the starting gate for Anaheim 1 in the 450 class this year was 25 years old. The average age, 25. Do you know that in the 1986 movie, Winners Take All, they based the plot around the fact that Bad Billy Robinson was 24 years old, and I quote, old man.
Don't believe all that crap you read in those psych mags. Hey, easy, old man.
He couldn't even get up from a bonfire without holding his back because he was so old at 24. Now the average age is 25, and most of the superstars are older than that. We got 30-year-olds winning races and titles. We got as many dads on the starting line as riders that don't have kids. It's trending in that direction. And why is that important? Well, the old guy used to be a cool little gimmick. Tim Ferry had it going. Mike LaRocco had it going. Kevin Windham had it going. Chad Reed. Justin Brayton was the old guy. I guess he really isn't racing this year. Either way, that was always a very popular gimmick with the fans, the old guy, right? We'd make the old guy jokes about them being super old, even though they were like 32, which is young in almost any profession. But there was a sideline to why the old guy was popular, not just the cool factor of the old guy running with the kids, but it was also that these riders had been around so long, they had established themselves. And no one in the stands was saying, wait, who's that guy? What's that guy all about? Everyone had heard of them. Everyone had seen them before. Everyone had a story. Kevin Windham used to say all the time, the coolest part about his autograph line is that everyone came up for an autograph, had a story about, I remember this race I saw you in. I remember this race I saw you in. That longevity builds brands. These riders have been around a while. Eli Tomac, Jason Anderson, they've been a part of your life for a long time. Justin Barcia, he's been a part of your life for a long time. And then it's easy when you parlay one of those superstars against the next generation, like Chase Sexton, it just automatically makes Sexton the future superstar. So he's automatically popular. That's factor number one. Just the overall familiarity means that more fans are knowledgeable about these riders and are cheering for their faith. The other thing is these riders have become much better about branding themselves. See Aaron Plessinger. He has made himself a personality. He's not just some guy on the number 7. Everybody knows what Plessinger is all about. Malcolm Stewart's not just some guy in the number 27. He's been around a while. People know Malcolm's personality. People were rooting for Malcolm. What this leads to is an electric atmosphere and this crowd reacting to everything that was happening on the track because they were knowledgeable about everything that was happening on the track. These weren't just generic bikes and numbers and riders. These were people that the fans feel like they knew. Reminds me when I started going to some NASCAR races back in the day. This is like when NASCAR was at its absolute peak and everyone was just like, why can't we be like NASCAR? Why can't we be like NASCAR? And one of the things I found very appealing about NASCAR's long racing format, where they drove for like 4 or 5 hours and they had pit stops and everything, all the fans in the stands had their guy. And again, these were much older drivers who had been around a long time. And these fans felt like they had grown up with them. And because of the format of pit stops, where maybe your driver's having a bad day, but he just stays out and doesn't take fuel for 2 more laps and gets to lead briefly. I'm like, every one of those drivers gets their chance, even for 5 minutes, to be the star of the race. They're not just back in the pack the whole day. I thought that part was very appealing, especially to NASCAR, which really pushed the idea of you, a fan, picking an individual driver who you were racing for, and you cared more about him than who was just winning the race in general. And that's the way this Supercross race felt on Saturday night. Obviously, Eli Tomac's very popular, and people were stoked that he won. But I was really intrigued when Plessinger was making moves, and Plessinger rode much better than I saw him at any Supercross race last year, including last year in Oakland, where he finished second. He just looked aggressive, and he was making passes, and he was sprinting more so than I saw last year. And the fans reacted every time he made a pass. And when it was Anderson and Plessinger banging off of each other in their corner, it's this personality who I know and I like versus this personality who I know and I like. 2 riders that the fans like and identify with. When Barcia was up front, everyone in those stands knew, oh boy, anyone who's going to try to pass Barcia for the win, especially in an opener, is in trouble. The fans knew it. When Tomac went down and then eventually was catching Sexton, everyone understood the gravity of the next superstar and the current superstar, who the new superstars trying to knock off are about to battle for the lead. And when Tomac went down earlier and Malcolm Stewart was in the lead, everyone knew, oh my God, I might be here in the building when Malcolm Stewart finally wins. And that first win's going to come in Anaheim 1. That's amazing. So many fan favorites, so many personalities. Do we even need to talk about the great story that is Ken Roczen on a Suzuki? And he was in the hunt as well. Adam Cianciarulo, everybody loves that guy. The only thing that's missing is one other personality who might be as big as anyone in the pits, and his credentials and the fact that he's been around and you're familiar with him and you know what he's done hasn't quite taken advantage of either one of those things yet. I believe we are waiting for the Cooper Webb personality to gain traction. Now, he hasn't done the Plessinger type things to try to earn it. He's just kind of Cooper being Cooper. And I think everybody respects Cooper for his racecraft and what he's able to do on the track. But for whatever reason, Cooper has never quite reverberated in the opening ceremonies. The crowd doesn't react to his every move when he's making passes, not in the same way they were doing when they saw Malcolm get into the lead or Plessinger make passes or Tomac come all the way back to the front. When Webb made moves, there was a respect. Ooh, Webb's kind of back to being good like he was in 2021 and 2019 and 2020. But they didn't go nuts. But if you start decoding the things Cooper Webb did, he had by far the most colorful answers on Friday's press conference, which I got to host. He had very colorful, unguarded, honest answers in the post-race press conference. He said, can I use this word? I've been a dick to my team. And then he explained all the things that he made them change on his motorcycle during the year. He said that he sucked last year, so it was really good to be up there again. Cooper's always been unfiltered. I think he tried to water it down and try to play that stoic, I'm a brand role model, spokesperson, champion thing when he was Supercross champ for the first time in 2019. Tried not to bring up the gnarly past and friction he used to have with Ken Roczen. But it's still there. He has personality. and he's been around a while. He is a known commodity. If Cooper Webb can take that leap that most of these other guys have, where the fans are familiar with him, they respect him, and they know what he's all about, and some fans start to pick him as their guy, that's just going to ratchet things up even more. Because the way it looks like from Anaheim 1 is that the old Cooper Webb, who is a contender all season long, is back. He's kind of in between, right? He's not the young guy, but he's not quite the older guy, but he's getting there. Overall, though, that building was louder than I ever heard it. And I think that's why these riders are around longer. We're more familiar with them. We understand their personality thanks to social media and the way they brand themselves like never before. We kind of have that model finally, that everyone in the stands wants to see who wins, but they also have their guy that they're rooting for. And as soon as that guy does something in the race that's good, they're going to react. An amazing time, an amazing experience for Supercross. Be like that couple from New York. Put it on your bucket list. Go to the race next year. There's nothing quite like Anaheim. It's electric, even without the batteries, taurine, ginseng, or caffeine.